Today's story comes from the Am I the A-hole subreddit and was posted by BHappy97 and was titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my mom a liar after finding out my dad is not my bio father? I, 28 female, was raised by my mother and spent most of my childhood visiting my dad every 2 weeks and certain holidays. My dad is no longer in my life. The last time I heard from him was about 12 years ago. However, the reasons for this falling out are not relevant to this post. My dad used to tell my sisters that the reason he and my mom divorced was because of an affair that happened around the time I was conceived. He told them that he has always been suspicious that I am not his biological daughter. However, it is worth noting that nothing was ever said to me directly. I look nothing like my dad and have some medical things that are genetic that don't seem to come from either my mom or dad's side of the family. Finally, about a month ago, I decided I wanted to find out. I did an ancestry kit. Last night, I got the results. Not a single member of my dad's side of the family was listed. However, there were a lot of people I'd never heard of before coming from my paternal DNA side. One of those relatives shared more DNA with me than my sister. I found her on social media and got in touch with her. Turns out her dad was working at the college my mother was attending the year I was conceived. Through some deductive reasoning, we discovered she was in fact my half-sister, and that man was my biological father. When I called my mom to ask her about this, I made it clear that I wasn't angry. Her marriage was her business, and I'm just looking for answers. She claimed she had never slept with anyone outside of her marriage, and that ancestry must not be very accurate. I chose not to confront her at this time. I wanted to gather more information and calm down a bit before trying to get some answers again. Then a few hours later, she called me back, this time claiming that she'd had time to think about it, and that she did remember being surprised about her pregnancy with me, as she hadn't been very sexually active with my dad during that time. She said she was really disturbed because she doesn't know who that man is and is worried she was a victim. I kind of lost it at this point. I was disgusted that she was trying to make herself a victim in this situation instead of taking accountability and giving me the answers I deserve. I called her a liar, and she started crying and hung up the phone. My husband says I was way too harsh with her, and I put too much pressure on her out of the blue. He says I should have been a bit more gentle with her and reassured her that I'm not angry. Maybe he's right, but honestly I'm angry, so I don't know. Edit. For a little more context, my mom has a long history of lying compulsively. We have been working on our relationship for about a year, but she is almost incapable of taking accountability for the truly traumatic childhood she gave us. I'd be more inclined to give her the benefit of the doubt if it wasn't completely in line with her character to have an affair. Plus, my dad already told my sisters he knew about the affair. Also, for those who have been asking about biological dad's position at the university, he worked in the kitchen, was not a professor. My mom was 25 at the time. Verdict: not the a-hole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, Info: is it possible that she was roofied and actually does not recall? Ope replied, I mean, yes, anything is possible, which is why my husband thinks I'm the a-hole. It just seems a little more likely, given the evidence, that this was a consensual affair. Commenter 2 says, Ope, the traumatic childhood she gave you could literally be because of rape. I grew up with a parent who was assaulted. She had issues not diagnosed till I was an adult that definitely affected mine and my sister's childhood negatively. Honestly, I would think this disclosure would make more sense. To be clear, it doesn't excuse what she did, but it might explain. Either way, I'd be hesitant to call her a liar about this without any proof. Ope replied, This is actually helpful. It's true, I definitely could have handled that conversation better. And no, it's not impossible that something horrific happened to her and changed her as a person. I'm not convinced, but it's worth considering. Perspective is important, so thank you. Commenter 3 says, Wanting to know who your actual father is pretty natural. Unless your mother has dementia or some other mental issue, she is being evasive on the topic. You deserve straight answers, not the a-hole. Commenter 4 says, She can easily ask the father, given she already knows her half-sister. Ope replied, Apparently, he died a while ago. It would have been so convenient if I'd been able to talk to him. Commenter says, At this time and place, what's the point of generating all this negativity? Could mom have been roofied and or raped? Sure, and it is possible she blocked the trauma. Could she be lying? Sure. But those lies were not likely a personal vendetta against the OP. The OP said all the daughters were traumatized. To regain and maintain some form of serenity in the OP's life, she needs to forgive the mom. That doesn't let her off the hook. Rather, it releases the anger from the OP. If the OP wants to also let go of the relationship, perhaps to protect her own children, so be it. It can now be done without anger. Forgiving does not mean forgetting. The consequences of the mom's actions can still be enacted or not. But no point in drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Oprah replied, I actually completely agree with you. I had already been working through a lifetime's worth of issues with my mom before this happened. My childhood was bad, but I had felt how much my bitterness and anger towards her was poisoning my soul. So I finally had an open conversation with her about it. And for the first time in my entire life, she didn't deny anything and actually apologized to me. I've been working hard at forgiving her ever since. But now this happened, and I'll admit, I snapped. Now I get to start all over again. It'll take some time, but hey, this is what I've been training for, I guess. Commenter 5 says, not the a-hole. Your feelings are completely valid. This is why it's strongly recommended to tell the truth to adopted kids and donor kids, since finding out later in life is traumatic and feels like a betrayal. I just wanted to note that this wasn't the case 30 years ago. It was normal to avoid complications about paternity to protect the kids from feeling different or something. People weren't aware of how damaging that can be later. So, your mom lied, but she could have been trying to do what's best for you. I'm not trying to find excuses, but more like add some context. Only you know if it's applicable or not. Oprah replied, I can totally get past a lifetime of lies. It might have been best for me. What I'm having a hard time getting past is the fact that now I'm an adult. I found out, and I came to her and calmly presented the facts without judgment, and she still won't admit it. It's incredibly frustrating. Commenter says, you realize this is a huge abuse of power situation, and even if she wasn't roofied, she is still definitely a victim. Commenter 6 says, really depends on what he did there. Could have just worked in a cafe or been an assistant. Oprah replied, this is it. He worked in the kitchen. However, he was much older than her. Update 1. Hello. I decided to do an update as the situation changed a lot and in my opinion got super crazy. So for anyone who is interested in this story, here's how things played out. After I got off the phone with my mom the day I confronted her, I texted her and told her I'm sorry for the way I reacted and that I just needed some time and space to process and try to figure things out. I spoke with my new half-sister about what my mom said, super awkward conversation, telling her that my mom is claiming that her beloved late father may have done something sinister to her. And she said absolutely not, that her father was a kind and gentle man and would never do something like this. I apologized and spent the rest of the conversation asking for more details about who he was and what his life was like. It was actually quite lovely. I didn't speak to my mom again for weeks. I just didn't know how to move forward. I didn't really believe her, but had no way of knowing for sure. It was super weird. Do I just accept her explanation and try to move forward in my relationship with her? Or do I step away from her, potentially destroying the relationship with my mother when she was telling the truth the whole time? About a month later, I received an email from her. In this email, she told me a story. She said that she's been thinking a lot about everything, and she started going through her old files from that time in her life. She said she found a therapy record for my sister that was dated 1 week after my conceived date. She said at that time she was working at a daycare, and she would take my 2 older sisters to work with her, where they would be watched by other staff members in a different room. She said one day she found out one of my sisters was being sexually assaulted by a staff member. I found out later through my sister that this was very true, and she remembers it happening. My mom says she absolutely lost it in the daycare's kitchen, throwing stuff and screaming until she finally shut herself into a closet. She said she remembers the daycare's cook opening the door and offering her a ride home, and she doesn't remember anything after that. She went on in her email, telling me how traumatic it was for all of them, and that's why she blacked the next several weeks of her life out. But maybe I can figure out if he ever worked there and if the cook was my biological father. I was able to verify through my half-sister that he was working in that daycare the year I was born and was even able to see some pictures of him working there. So I was finally getting some answers, but I still felt like her story had a lot of holes in it. Like, did she take her 2 young girls, minutes after finding out about this type of abuse and immediately invite this person who she barely knows into her bed? That feels weird. And the only way I feel like that would make sense is if she knew him better, which would imply that she would at the very least recognize him from a photo taken at the time he was working there. Or did she call him later and meet up with him? But that would, again, imply more of a relationship, and she should have some memory of him. I decided to call her and try again for an open conversation. During this phone call, I told her I was able to verify he was the cook, and I showed her the photos. She continued to say she has no memory of him. I told her about my confusion with her story, and this is where things started to get really bad. She started crying, saying she will pay for a lie detector test, that she will go to a hypnotherapist to access repressed memories. She said maybe if I had more background info about her life, I'd understand how she could have blocked these memories off. She went on to tell me in graphic detail about when she was raped at 13 and how my grandma didn't believe her. How my grandma was a terrible mom. For context, I love my grandmother dearly, and she was the single best thing about my childhood, and she forced her to get an abortion when she was 17. She explained my sister's sexual assault at the daycare in graphic detail as well. She cried and expressed how terrified she was to lose me. I got off the phone with her feeling violated? Disturbed? I don't know. It felt really icky, though. I decided that day that I was going to have to come to terms with the fact that I will never know how I was conceived and if my mom was being truthful. As luck would have it, 2 weeks later, I ran into one of my old stepdads. We chatted for a minute, and I decided to ask him. He was with my mom when I was between the ages of about 7 to 17. I was very careful about how I asked. I said, "What do you know about my father?" His response, "Oh, good. Your mom finally told you about your biological dad." That answered all my questions for me. He knew where he lived, that they worked together, and that I have his eyes. I called my mom again, told her I know the truth, and it's time to be honest. She continued to insist that she has no idea who he is or how this happened. I told her that using my sister's very real trauma and giving me such graphic details of her own sexual assault as manipulation tactics in an attempt to distract from her lies is deeply disturbing behavior, and a close relationship with her was not serving me at this point. Many weeks later, I got another message from her. It was very long and went on and on about how hard this has been for her, and that she needs to know if our relationship is salvageable. She said it's been so hard on her that the night we last spoke, she drank 2 bottles of NyQuil, and that her husband found her and made her throw up, for which she was grateful. When I was 17, my younger stepsister committed suicide, and I found her when she was still barely alive. She died in my arms. My mom knows how this statement would affect me. I responded telling her that I'm sorry. It's been so hard for her to be a victim of her own actions, that in that novel of a text message, there is not a single indication of accountability or remorse for the way she's handled things, and that it's incredibly fucked up to use my past traumatized with suicide as a weapon to elicit sympathy. I told her that the only thing that can even begin to fix this is accountability and a genuine apology, and until she could do that, not to contact me again. She sent another long message, admitting she lied about knowing who my father is, saying she was trying to protect me from the truth, which is that she was raped and that's how I was conceived. Since then, my sister has done enough digging to get several family members' testimony that she had a very consensual and extended affair with the cook from her job, as well as a few other affairs from the same time frame. After this, I told her to leave me alone and blocked her number. There have been a few other things. My grandmother came to see me to try to advocate for her. Her husband has made a few attempts to reach out, etc. But I feel like it's over now. I'm left with feelings of deep sadness that my mom couldn't find the courage to show up and be a mom for me, that I still have not been able to just have a talk with her about how I came into the world, and knowing that I will never know the man who, by all accounts I've received, was a really amazing human. At the end of it all, I've had my mom, my dad, my biological dad, 3 stepfathers and a stepmom, and it's crazy to me that I sit here now writing this story without ever feeling like I've had a parent. Thanks for hearing me out, Reddit. At least I don't wonder if I'm the a-hole anymore, because my mother was in fact a liar. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "You poor thing. Your mother clearly has issues, but she has no right to traumatize you weaponize the trauma your sister went through, etc. You may want to have a look at a couple of support subs, estranged adult kids, raised by narcissists, etc. See if anything resonates. And more importantly, find coping mechanisms for navigating through this absolute mess. Hope replied, "Thank you. I'll definitely check out those subs. Luckily, I've built a really strong support system with my husband, sisters, friends, and have an amazing relationship with my own young girls. Plus, I'm set up with a really good therapist. Unfortunately, this is truly just the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to my mom and the way I grew up, so I've gotten really good at processing these types of things in a healthy way. I am sad, but I'm all in all doing really well." Commenter 2 says, "Wow, your mom is a piece of work. You don't deserve this OP. You're absolutely not the a-hole, and you have every right to protect yourself from this vile behavior. It's clear you've done some amazing hard work. You have great insight and strength. Don't lose that. I hope that in time, maybe you'll be curious to find out more about your biological dad. He sounds nice, and you deserve some of that. But as you pointed out, you've had many parental figures, and they've let you down. If you need time to heal, then you should absolutely take that time. We don't know all the details of your relationship with your mom. These are still only snapshots of your life. Still, if you're asking for second opinions, I'd say there's enough here to recommend no contact. She's not ready to change. There is no evidence that she will take responsibility, and that's not your burden to bear. You've done all you can. Now take this permission from a stranger and be selfish. Look after yourself and your peace first. Good luck." Hope replied, "I agree completely, and thank you for your encouragement. I've spent the majority of my 20s working hard to not let my past turn me into someone my kids can't look up to, so comments like this really mean a lot to me. I find a certain amount of peace in knowing I gave her many chances to fix things and tried as often as I could to make her feel safe in being able to talk to me about this after my initial harsh reaction. I don't have to regret my actions, and that's really nice. I've been talking more with my half-sister, and it turns out we have another one too. They're planning a trip for all three of us to meet later this summer, and I'm so excited to learn more about my father." Commenter 3 says, "My grandmother came to see me to try to advocate for her." Oh, I hope you shared with her what your mother told you about her. Hope replied, "I definitely did. Turns out the things my mom said about her were true, and she regrets it deeply. Interestingly, she has never told my mom that she regrets not believing her when she was raped. It made a lot of my mother's behavior make a little more sense. I encouraged my grandmother to talk to my mom. I told her that I'm not the one who needs to be there for my mom right now. She is, and maybe if she could find the courage to take accountability for her actions, just maybe it'll heal whatever is broken in my mom, and we can stop this generational trauma here." Commenter 4 says, "I'm just curious. So, is biological dad alive?" Hope replied, "No, he died in 2012. Commenter 5 says, "I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm relieved that your husband is supporting you, but I think that you need to see a therapist as soon as possible. I went through something with my biological parents, and it really affected me for years until I realized that their actions were not a reflection upon me or my moral character. I was not responsible for their failures in life. I do want to mention that many things can be true at the same time. That your mom was sexually assaulted when she was a teenager and never spoke about it until now. That your sister was sexually assaulted and that it was never mentioned to you before now. That your sister's sexual assault traumatized your mom. That your mom lies. That your mom should have informed you before now about your biological father. That your biological father had sex with a married mother. That whatever happened between your mother and biological father was not meaningful enough for them to keep in touch, as far as anyone knows. And that your mom loves you in her way, but that you may need to distance yourself from her for the moment for your own mental health." Hope replied, "Thank you for this. Perspective is a crazy thing. The only thing is that my mom talks about her rape all the time. It is tragic, but everyone who I've talked to about this has said she told them about it. This was just the first time she told me about it. Same with my sister's abuse. This was the first I'd heard of this one, but there were several other incidents throughout our childhood that my sisters and I suffered that I didn't know about. I'd be inclined to believe my mom was traumatized by it, because how could you not? but I personally witnessed very muted reactions to being told about things that were happening to us several times, and I just think that she was playing this one up to continue trying to add credibility to her lies. Update 2. Well, I guess it's not over Reddit. Yesterday, my little brother came to town to see me. He said Mom called him to tell him she had just been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. My sister says it's probably a lie, that she's done stuff like this before and the timing is too convenient. She's certain it's just a play to get me to call her. I don't know much about multiple sclerosis, but I'm curious. Does anyone know if that could explain things? I read online that multiple sclerosis can affect long-term memory. Is there a chance it caused her to really forget who he was? The second story is from Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was posted by Arca Loveson and was titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my fiance's sister, 30 female, a +1 to our wedding for her boyfriend, 30 male, of 1 month after she blocked my fiancé, 30 male, my fiancé, 36 male, and I, 31 female, are planning our wedding. We've been together for many years, and we recently sent out our invitations. We decided to follow a general rule for +1s. Guests only get a +1 if they are married, engaged, living together, or in a more established relationship. We are not giving casual/new partners automatic invites mostly because of numbers, cost, and trying to keep things consistent. My fiance's sister, 35 female, has a very tense relationship with him/us. From our perspective, she struggles to have calm and constructive conversations. From her perspective, she feels like we don't understand her and that she is always being attacked. The last time my fiancé and his sister were together, things ended badly. She was shouting at her young child for what felt like a long time and was saying some hurtful things. My fiancé stepped in and said something along the lines of, "Okay, that's enough." She did not take that well, asked him to leave, and then blocked him. Since then, she has not spoken to him directly. When we sent out the wedding invitations, we did not give her a +1 because she has only been with her current boyfriend for about a month. We applied the same rule to everyone else. Now she has sent their dad to ask why she did not get a +1. This has annoyed us because my fiancé is literally blocked by her, but she is still demanding a +1 through a third party instead of speaking to us herself, like an adult. We feel like it is unfair for her to refuse direct communication with us, but still expect us to accommodate her new boyfriend, or apparently she's going to bring her best friend if her and her boyfriend are not together at our wedding. We also don't want extra drama on the day, especially given the existing tension. At the same time, I do understand that she may feel weird attending alone. Am I the a-hole for not giving my fiancé's sister a +1 to our wedding when she has only been with her boyfriend for about a month and currently has my fiancé blocked? Verdict: not the a-hole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, your +1 rule is fair and consistent. She's only been with the guy a month, blocked your fiancé, and is now sending daddy to demand an invite instead of talking like an adult. She can't freeze you out and still expect special treatment. Wedding drama avoided. Stand your ground. Hope replied, this is how we feel. To send someone else to ask is just ridiculous to us, and it feels very entitled. Commenter 2 says, not the a-hole. It's not even like she will be alone. It's a family event, so she will know a good chunk of people there. Hope replied, true. I'm actually going to use that / point that out. She has her whole immediate family, as well as her aunts and uncles. Commenter 3 says, why is she even coming at all? She has her brother blocked. She's decided to go no contact, so respect that and don't have her at the wedding. Not the a-hole for your rule, which is perfectly reasonable and one I wish my cousin had at her wedding. It would have stopped my idiot boyfriend at the time from getting ideas. Hope replied, we are very close to just not having her at all, but as she is the golden child, he doesn't want to cause waves with his parents. It is all too political, and we are beyond frustrated. Commenter 4 says, not the a-hole, but why is she even invited? She blocked your fiancé, so in my opinion, that means she doesn't want anything to do with them. So why invite her? Hope replied, exactly. We invited her to not cause more drama, if that's even possible, but now she is making something that is about us about her. And as you say, if we're blocked, then clearly she wants nothing to do with us. Therefore, why come to our wedding? Commenter 5 says, it's your wedding. You guys invite who you want or don't want. However, probably an exception should be made as to +1s for immediate family. Either way, it's a no-win. Yes, the sister seems immature and brings too much drama. However, is this the hill your fiancé wants the relationship with his sister to die on? Going forward, you guys aren't going to have a relationship with her or constantly be reminded of this. Are you prepared for all the awkward holidays after the snub? What do you intend to do if 2 show up anyway? Hire security. If you allow 2 to come, I'd tell the dad he's responsible for making sure they behave like adults and aren't a distraction. You could be right and still be punished. I think giving the sister a +1 is taking a hit for the team. Hope replied, that's exactly what we're struggling with. At the same time, what relationship is really being salvaged if everyone has to tiptoe around her to keep the peace? Their dad has basically said, we should figure out what triggers everyone and just avoid those topics so we can have a relationship. But it's difficult when the trigger is often us not agreeing with her behavior or her views, sexuality/politics/religion, all the big moral questions. So while I understand is this the hill to die on? Point, it also feels like the relationship only works if everyone bend around her, and we're not sure that's something we want to carry into our wedding day. Additional information. Hope replied, I might be the a-hole because she is immediate family and maybe rules don't fully apply. I know weddings can be sensitive, and this may make an already tense family relationship worse. Update. Well, I don't think the +1 is an issue anymore. Since my original post, there hadn't been any contact between my fiancé and his sister. Then today she reached out to him about an unrelated matter. He responded politely, but the conversation quickly deteriorated, turned into more accusations about past events with both of them clearly seeing things very differently. I have had the same experience with her. There is reality, and then there is her reality. Spoiler alert, it is not the same. The reason I'm bringing this up is in her messages, in the past as well as today, she speaks of the different realities. It makes it very difficult to speak to her. Eventually, my fiancé said that given where things stand, it would probably be better if they just left each other alone. At the end of their conversation, he said that while they were speaking, she didn't need to worry about the wedding anymore because it would just be awkward for everyone involved. She responded, I wasn't, which was a little ironic considering she previously had their dad asking why she didn't get a +1 and whether she could bring her new boyfriend or alternatively a friend. Relevant comments. Opie responded about uninviting her sister-in-law being the correct choice. Hope replied, we invited her because family, but there is no relationship to fix anymore, so there is no point. Family is what you make it. Commenter 1 says, glad your sister-in-law issue dealt with itself. I hope the child has an out. It is very sad if they are left with that delusional person. Still not the a-hole. Hope replied, he's only 6 with a very absent father. We feel very sorry for him. Commenter 2 says, problem solved. It's sad that their relationship has declined to this degree. I wouldn't even try to talk to her unless it's in therapy. She is dysfunctional on so many levels, and I have to point out that even though it all seems to be her fault, she's hurting really badly. So I hope the people in the family who she still seems to trust enough should encourage her to go to therapy. Hope replied, it is very sad, but it is for the best, at least for now. Maybe they can work on it in the future. I wish she would go to therapy. She has been through a lot, but it is a case of hurt people hurt people. Additionally, the family she can lean on is their mom, who is as dysfunctional as her, and her dad, who doesn't believe in mental health. So I don't know what the future holds. Commenter 3 says, I saw one comment saying that she is the golden child. If so, how will this bode with the parents and other family? I'm asking because you guys need to prepare in case of some back out or make this day a guilt trip, especially the parents. In that case, it might be a tough day for your fiancé. That's going to come with a lot of mental gymnastics because if only you guys are seeing the true reality while everyone else sees more so her reality, then you guys become the aggressors or liars, especially you as the newcomer of the family. Hope replied, so their dad acts like he's impartial where he has shown who is the favorite, but he seems to still be coming. I'm not sure about their mom because my fiancé currently has her blocked. If the other family, aunts and uncles, don't come as their loss, but they generally get on better with my fiancé and I because they know how their niece / my fiancé's sister is. They have often said the sister and mother are 2 peas. Commenter 4 says, still not the a-hole, but if there's going to be stipulations on who gets a +1, why not just directly invite these friends' long-term partners since you presumably know them? Like, why frame it as giving some people a +1 and not others as opposed to, I'm just inviting people I actually know? Hope replied, so that is what we did. Everyone invited is named on the invite. No one has received a plus guest.